And we're back for our third and final match of the day as we prepare for Grand Prix Atlanta, playing the modern format. A lot of sweet decks came out of SCG Charlotte last weekend. You were there. What are your thoughts on the format as a whole, I guess? Was there anything that really surprised you? How has Dredge been? I know you've been a huge Dredge fan.
So there was one aspect of last week's Open that surprised me, and it was the fact that so many people just slammed Graveyard Hate in their sideboards and called it a day against Dredge, and that they were successful in suppressing it. Dredge was sort of just there. It was one of the more popular decks, 5th or 6th on the list for day 2. Mm-hmm. There was 3 in the top 32, none made top 8, so around, but not what it was the week before. But they did it in decks that are normally pretty bad against Dredge in game 1. Decks like Jund, the control decks popped up again. There was a good amount of Azorius and Jeskai control. And I thought that the better way to attack Dredge was going to be towards moving towards the decks that didn't have to devote so much sideboard space in order to beat it. And those ended up being the decks that did really well and won the tournament. 2 Amulet Titans in the finals, a copy of Scapeshift in the top 4, things like that. So I think what last week proved is that strategy, finding something that's fundamentally good against Dredge instead of just not wasting, but having to use so many sideboard slots and sacrificing percentage points in other matches. Right. Because regardless of how popular or powerful a deck is in Modern, it's rare that it gets more than 15% metagame share.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the last time I played against the same deck in a Modern tournament more than 3 times. In Standard, occasionally you'll get a 2, 3, 4 deck metagame, and you'll play the same matchup 3 or 4 times in a tournament, sometimes more. And having like some dedicated sideboard slots to those matchups, or at least that style of archetype, is hugely important for increasing your chances to win not only those matchups, but the tournament itself. In Modern, you have to kind of have like a more broad strokes approach when it comes to your sideboard. Cards like Relic of Progenitus are sometimes just better than something like Leyline of the Void, because if you have like a dead removal spell in your deck and your opponent's not really a graveyard-based deck, you need something to come in there, and Relic at least cycles,
Yeah.
Like, it's not great, but at the same time, it's a little more versatile, so it allows you to make your deck a little bit better in matchups, where you would normally just have a dead card.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the diversity of Modern is a natural check on people overloading on hate to beat a specific deck. So the level of Graveyard Hate that we saw in Charlotte can only be a temporary thing. Mm-hmm. And it's generally a good sign that Dredge was still competitive. It wasn't the best deck, but it was still certainly a competitive deck. Perhaps the most hateful field possible for it, where everyone had at least 3 or 4 cards in their sideboard for it. Most had a couple more than that. Some people were main decking it. JD's Jund deck had a main deck Nile Spellbomb.
Right.
And then decks that are naturally good against Dredge, like Amulet Titan and TitanShift, were around in larger numbers as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my least favorite time to play a graveyard deck is right after one got first or second at a tournament. Or 2 or 3 made top 4 or something. Basically when Dredge or Goryo's Vengeance or some deck that is people can just jam 4 Leyline of the Void in their sideboard. Those are not the weekends where I want to be playing Dredge. You chose to jump right into the fire, and you still made top 16. So congrats to you last weekend on that. It's impressive.
Yeah, I got Rest in Peace probably 8 times in the tournament.
Yeah, week before? How many times did you get Rest in Peace the week before?
I was not in Dallas, but I imagine it would have been
because you played Dredge recently in the tournament.
I think I got Rest in Peace once in that tournament.
Yeah,
yeah.
Leyline of the Void maybe once.
Yeah, didn't get Leyline that often last weekend. The one time it happened was in the mirror, and I immediately answered it because my hand was great.
Yeah,
and won very easily.
All right, so let's talk about the 2 decks we're playing today in this video. I'm going to be using Philip Lauren's Azorius control deck. Philip Lauren and I go pretty far back. I met him at the TCG Player Invitational, I want to say 2011, the one that I took down. I played against Phil in the top 8, and he was playing this really sweet Tesserator deck that I ended up beating with my obvious Callblade deck that didn't have. It was before or after Stoneforge got banned, so it was just Squadron Hawks and Amiri Angel and Sun Titan, and it was cool. But yeah, Phil's a great player from the Atlanta area. He has quite a few open top 8s over the years.
At least one invitational top 8, because I was in that top 8 with him.
Yeah, just a great player, and this Azorius deck looked pretty sweet, so I decided to pick it up for today's match.
Yeah, nothing too out of the box here, and Azorius Control has just been a good performing deck for a while. I think you are weak to Dredge, but the control matchups are not as bad as they used to be in my experience. I've actually been struggling a bit against Control. Just the power of Teferi letting you, giving you this great card advantage engine lets you actually keep up with Bloodghast to some extent. And if you keep up with Dredge for long enough, eventually they deck. So
yeah, I mean, and cards like Terminus are even though they go to the bottom of the deck, are just kind of insane sometimes that you can hit them mid combat, and that buys you 4 turns. And then if you don't have a fetch land to shuffle your deck, it's you cannot apply a pressure anymore because all your creatures are on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, you can also use Field of Ruin to keep them off green mana before they start loaming, which is really a nice play and a nice option that they did not have the last time Dredge was really popular. So this is a generally powerful deck. I'm playing in TitanShift. Becky Adelman's top 4 list is a deck that she has played for a long time and is very big on. This is normally a matchup that historically has favored the Scapeshift side. Normally, I would say at a strategic level, deep fundamental level, counter spells, as long as you can apply some pressure, are going to generally be good against ramp strategies. But the issue here for the control decks has always been Scapeshift decks win with a land. And they have this way to kill you in the long game that you just can't interact with. And that put too much pressure on you to actually close the game out, which would usually open a window for them to land a big threat. The thing is, Field of Ruin now gives you a way to answer Valak at the Molten Pinnacle.
Yeah, so if I'm able to check the card Scapeshift and the card Primeval Titan, I no longer have to fear getting burned out by a single copy of Valakut or, 1 or 2 played early. Your County Heart Expeditions, your ramp spells in general, once you have Valakut on the battlefield, turn into real threats against a deck that allows for the game to go super long. And Field of Ruin, while, sometimes it's not going to be fast enough to actually... if you sandbag your Valakut from hand, right, and you have multiple County Heart Expeditions and a fetch land here and a fetch land there, and you just go, all right, Valakut, pass turn, I can never not hold up 3 mana, or else I just die on the spot.
Yeah, so the matchup has become a lot more intricate as a result. You're going to see me leave my fetch lands uncracked, my Colony Heart Expeditions uncracked, in order to put Todd in that tight spot as he just described. And I think this matchup got a lot closer, which makes it more interesting. I've got a few different threats to bring in post-board to become a little bit more mid-rangey.
Yeah, Carnage Tyrant.
Yeah, look, Carney T, the Tireless Tracker. Great. Another card that makes my late-game ramp spells look really good.
Makes my Path Exiles look embarrassing.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun game. We're going to get this typical control versus ramp early game. We're both going to develop our mana bases. Todd's going to try to have some counter spells up, so I can't just turn 4 a Titan.
I'm just not going to win a game, right? You're going to give me a pity game, and I'm just going to get 8-0 swept today?
Well, you're on the play with this one.
Woo!
So let's see how it goes.
All right.
Much excitement.
All right. Any questions while we're doing open hands?
From Sir Phil 22 for Ross. What do you think is the better primetime deck? Is it this or Amulet Titan?
I am inclined to say Amulet, because I think that deck has a little bit more play to it and is more explosive. It can turn 3 a Titan. This deck just can't.
Yeah.
I
would say, well, you talked a little bit about how the Amulet deck was a turn 4 Titan deck more often than not, right?
Yeah.
And then I made the kind of offhand joke, well, I know a different Primeval Titan deck that can cast on turn 4 basically every game. And if this one's a little more slower, but it's a little more resilient to hate cards, I think. But you don't have the toolbox engine the Amulet has. So I'm actually unsure which one I like better.
You have less interaction as a result of the lands actually give you interaction via Teleria West.
Right.
That Scapeshift doesn't really have, because it has a few slots for interaction beyond its ramps package, and you just have to draw the right interactive cards.
Mm-hmm. My hand's pretty cool, and I have one of the cards that I want to see if it's good here. So,
okay. Well, I have a very rampy hand here, which I think is the most important thing to see in your opening hand, because those are the cards you need to cast in the first 3 turns of the game.
Yep.
So I'm just going to keep and hope to draw into some threats.
All right. We have Ancestral Visions on Suspend. Let's go.
Think you're the only one with Suspend cards here?
Yeah, it's just we picked the two decks with the only Suspend cards in the whole format, other than Living End, which never actually gets suspended.
I'm choosing to get Basic Forest here because I want to leave as many mountains in my deck as possible. If I resolve my big threats, I should be able to win regardless. I don't need to win quickly by just getting all mountains. But we might get to a point in the end game where I need a higher density of mountains left in my deck to actually win if some of my Valakuts go away. Not entirely sure if that's the correct thing to do on turn 1, but it makes sense to me. You describe both the bottom there.
One top, one bottom.
The old splits. Splitsville. Okay, now what do we have? Got that on 1. And I have a mountain, and hopefully you don't have a spell snare.
Womp womp.
Wow. How
Got him.
lucky.
Man, I just want Spell Snare to come back in a big way. You have no idea. All right, your turn. I love me some Spell Snare.
Search.
I kind of want to Mana Leak this. I don't know. There might be a spot where I just can't Mana Leak anymore, so I'm just gonna Mana Leak it.
That was not a good draw.
This is almost definitely not right, but whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna play another Colony Heart Expedition, and then I'll play a Cinder Glade and get a counter, and then I'll play a Relic and tap it targeting top.
All right. I'm gonna just get rid of like Spell Snare, I guess. If I draw Snap, I might want to go ahead and just get it on the Serum Visions before he's able to pop my whole grave. All right, your turn.
And draw.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is going very well. Let's play Winds of Teeth and get another counter.
Yeah.
That's Relic targeting you.
I will get rid of Serum Visions to threaten a Snap Leak. Actually, I should probably... I'm actually just going to pop my land. And the next on my land
Sure.
instead.
So you're 19 all?
Yep.
Important for Todd to try to keep above 18 here, because that's the amount of damage that Escape Shift on 7 lands does.
Yep.
1 Valakut triggered 6 times. Always an important number. But I am just going to pass the turn.
Okay. Now, Ross is actually threatening here. Actually, what you should do, I think, is you should pop your Heath to put a third counter on this, because if...
I guess I should do that. I should do that in response to your...
Right, in response to my crack and my fetch, because now I can't Cryptic to bounce this.
Yeah.
And you'd rather have this threatening than that threatening, like at all times, basically.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so I will...
Do I want to get the second basic forest or a stomping ground here?
So you're at 18, right?
Still think I just want to get the forest out of the deck.
All right. Pop Ancestral, target myself.
Yeah. So I am... I don't know if you mentioned that. I'm getting the third counter on the Colony Heart Expedition, so I can't get Cryptic.
Yes.
Bounce with Cryptic. So I'm at 18. Yeah, you can draw 3 cards.
All right. Ooh. I will draw for turn.
Yep.
I will play Hallowed Fountain tapped and say go.
Okay. On your end step, I'm going to pop this Relic so I can hopefully find something.
Sure.
Wow.
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 Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to pop this Colony Heart.
Except to Escape Shift me. Am I right?
Pass the turn.
All right, I'm going to play a Hieroglyphic Illumination. Not even good enough for Standard most of the time. Somehow made its way into this deck. Anything while I'm found out? Okay. I assume not. I'm just,
Yep.
Always give you the option. All right. Pass turn.
Okay. Now I'm going to sack this thing.
Okay.
There's only so much time we can give Todd to set up. There's not really a lot that the Escape Shift deck does to play around counterspells. You just have to play through them. And, hope you draw enough threats that one of them resolves or you kill them with a Valakut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I'm not applying pressure, like over time, I basically just have to find 1-for-1 answers for his big spells just every single turn, Okay. A lot of force in play there, Ross.
Yep.
Nothing suspicious about that at all.
Let's play a Summoner's Pact.
You play an opt-in response.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will find a Primeval Titan and put it into my graveyard.
You're going to cast it?
Yes.
Put it on the stack, please.
It's on the stack.
Yep. I'm going to play Snapcaster Mage. I don't have it yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm probably dead. We are opting.
Sure. I mean, your logic knots don't do anything.
I know. I don't know what you want from me. I didn't draw anything. My hand is all Path to Exiles and Jason Might Sculptors. Ross!
Okay. Primeval Titan
Trigger
resolves.
on the stack.
Sure.
Path it.
Okay. So
You get a
that's
mountain.
fine. I get a mountain from the
You get
path,
two
and then I get 2 Valakutes. Now I have exactly 5 mountains on the battlefield, which means these wooded foothills can pop for 3 damage apiece. And I don't know exactly how I want to play this.
Just 12 me.
Hmm.
Just 12 me.
You're at 19.
12 me.
Todd, Rick?
Actually, I'm gonna pat this too with all the triggers on the
Sure.
stack. Whatever. My turn or
Yeah, I'll just pass.
12 me.
Why?
Put me out of my misery. Just don't have Field of Ruin. This is all bad.
Wait, you mean Valakut is a legendary?
No.
Yeah. Despite
Even though it is the Molten Pinnacle, there you can have multiple.
There are multiple Molten Pinnacle.
yeah,
It's so stupid.
it's a whole range of volcanoes, Todd.
Sure thing, dude. All right. Brainstorm. Any
Sure.
responses?
Nope.
Hello, my name is Daryl, and this is my brother Daryl.
Okay. Did I play land? I don't think so, because I was looking for
No.
a fetch land. I'm going to say go, I guess.
I will cast an Explore.
I will resolve.
I will cast a Sakura Tribe Altar.
That resolves.
I will cast a Search for Tomorrow.
Sure. I have nothing. Just, am I dead?
6.
6. Okay. 12, 18, 24.
30.
All right. My hand is all removal spells and planeswalkers. You win. Feel good about it? Big
Yep.
bully.
I did only have 1 basic mountain left in my deck. I should be more
No.
cognizant of that.
Ross lost that game.
How?
He didn't pay for his pack.
Oh! Oh my god! Oh, we got him! Yes! 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 We won a game!
What? How did we miss that?
How are you not reading Twitch chat? I'm sure it's been blown up for 5
he's
minutes
saying
straight.
now.
That's how I noticed it.
How did I
Sure.
not miss it before?
You got me.
Oh my god.
Ross. Come on, buddy. I missed it too. It's okay. Yeah, I'll take it. You know, first game win of the day. Because Ross was winning by so much, he just forgot a thing.
Ross didn't stop to think when
This is
he
why you put a
could
die
whether or
on
not
your
he
deck.
should.
Yeah, I mean, in a tournament, I always have something there. We're playing on Versus Live. Whatever.
All right, let's take like 2 questions, and then we're going to take a short break while we do sideboarding.
Poor Icarus flew too close to the sun. Smiley JD, how do you guys feel about Bogles?
Get out.
Okay.
No.
Sorry, Smiley JD. 1 second ban for you. No.
I do that pretty regularly, just to show him who's
He's like,
boss.
no.
Yeah, just the 1 second timeout.
I think Bogles is in a better position than it has been in quite a while, but the deck in general is underpowered. So it's one of those decks that isn't really playable if it's not well positioned and is only okay if it is.
I will disagree with that assessment. I think that if the format is all like Jund decks and like interactive stuff, you know, Bogles is pretty good at beating the decks that are trying to be interactive. It's really bad when everyone's playing Primeval Titans and Scape Shifts and Amulet of Vigors and, you know, even Jund, like, I think is really good against Bogles. Like, if they don't get exactly Daybreak Coronet going, like, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think you can generally race the big mana decks. Like, you gain a bunch of life to get out of Scape Shift range. Often you do yourself damage with your mana base.
Let's ask Edgar, Mihalis, I don't know. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. Edgar Mihalis.
I thought it was Malgahez, but
Malgahez. Is Bogles good against Amulet Titan?
I'm
Amulet
expecting just like a flood of no's from him.
Let's just poll the Twitch chat. Do you think Bogles is good against any deck featuring the card Primeval Titan?
1 for yes, 2 for no.
I'll wait.
I don't know. It's one of those weird situations where both decks have draws the other deck is going to really struggle beating, but I don't have enough experience with either deck to tell you which one comes up more often or where the matchup falls on the balance.
Sure. I mean, I guess the Bogles deck can be pretty aggressive. They have double ethereal armor, so
yeah. Or if they have Suppression Field in their sideboard.
Sure, Suppression Field's a good one. That's true.
All right, whole flood of 2s.
Whole flood of 2s, yeah. Let's get one more question, then we're going to take sideboarding.
From one of our mods, Killagerm, is Bolt better than Fatal Push?
I don't know. What kind of question is that? It's all about, there are some weeks where it is, and there are some weeks where it isn't. If you have the option to play either, I would suggest Fatal Push for the most part, but... Bolt's certainly fine if you can't play Fatal Push. If you want to be a teamer deck like me, I gladly will play 4 Lightning Bolts in my teamer deck, and it's just fine.
Yeah, there's answering those questions in the abstract doesn't
what
really
about Sultai?
Do anything.
That's my favorite question. What about Sultai?
What about Sultai?
What about it?
Sultai decks are never good.
Well, that's not true. Also... Why are you playing Sultai? Why ask that question if I have literally no context to what you mean? Oh, you want to be a Golgari deck that splashes blue for River's Rebuke so you can beat Thamir? Because that sounds pretty cool, and maybe that's a reason to play Sultai. But asking, what about Sultai? That's not constructive. Come on.
Well, to be fair, the correct answer is Lightning Bolt because that's the one that won the MTG bracket competition not too long ago.
Sure. Did
There's your answer.
Did those get paired up against each other?
I don't believe they did.
Aw,
then again,
nice.
there's so many cards.
That's true. There were just thousands, if not tens of thousands. Anyway, we're going to take a short break while we prepare sideboards. We'll be right back for Game 2 of Valakut versus... Azorius Control, and hopefully Ross remembers to pay for his packs. Well, hopefully he doesn't. That's the only way I'm going to win, apparently. All right, we'll be right back.
And we are back here sideboarding with Gruul TitanShift against Azorius Control. I guess I will start, seeing as I'll be on the plane for Game 2.
You did technically lose that game.
Yes. Emphasis on the word technically.
Yeah, the best kind of correct.
Yeah. So, on my side, cards that are coming out that are obvious are the red removal spells that are really not meant for a matchup like this. Lightning Bolt has some utility against Planeswalkers, but it's really only Jace out of the Azorius deck that Lightning Bolt is good against, so I'm bringing those out. I have 6 cards I want to bring in, so I had to bring out 1 ramp spell, and I chose Colony Heart Expedition. It's sort of the most explosive one. I like the idea of being able to leave it and have an instant speed way to utilize a Valakut, but I still have 2 left in the deck to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty poor top deck late game unless you have a bunch of fetches uncracked sitting around, so that's the one I've chosen to trim. I think these 3 cards are pretty obvious. Beast Within is a clean answer to Planeswalkers and the Angels out of the control deck. These 2 threats let me play a sort of small ball game, which is important. Tracker is another card that makes my ramp spells relevant later in the game by letting me draw cards. Carnage Tyrant is Carnage Tyrant. I'm choosing to bring in the Obstinate Balos just to give myself more of this mid-range creature plan.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be able to just put pressure on Todd in different ways, attack his life total down a bit so I don't need to trigger Valakut as often against his Field of Ruins. Then I'm bringing in 1 Hour of Devastation just because I'm really scared of Lyra Dawnbringer and Baneslayer Angel. And this is the card I have that can actually answer one of them.
Yeah.
Also, sweeps up Planeswalkers, so
sure.
Hopefully this card will get him. Does not kill Carnage Tyrant. This is a combo.
Yeah. Wombo, baby.
Yeah, the Wombo combo. So hopefully the 1 Hour of Devastation puts in some work.
Before you sweep up your cards, I want to point out the very obvious mirroring going on here where he's boarding out Bolt, I'm boarding out Path. He's boarding out Sweepers, I'm boarding out Sweepers. And then, I have a little more of the instant speed interactive type of stuff. He's morphing into a bad beatdown deck, and I'm morphing into a control deck with some more traditional finishers with the Baneslayer Angel effects and Lear Dawnbringer. We have a couple more counterspells coming in with the Disdainful Stroke and Negate. The surgical attractions are kind of like a 1-2 punch. If I'm able to like counter a Primeval Titan, I can then surgical them. If I'm able to hit a Valakut with a Field of Ruin, I'm able to surgical them. And doing either of those things shuts off a lot of Ross's late game effects, which I like. But I think people board in surgical extraction way too much. And as a control deck, when you need to eliminate an entire suite of threats from someone, surgical extraction plus a counterspell or plus a Field of Ruin is a great way to do that. But I see people way too often just like, someone cracks a fetch land and they're just like, oh, I'm going to surgical that fetch land right now and hope that I get one out of your hand. It's just not good.
There are certain things that are often repeated by content creators and they've become cliche. It's like Bolt the Bird and all these random pieces of advice. In general, the hive mind tends to follow those pieces of advice a little bit too slavishly and not realizing the corner cases where they need to adjust. But for some reason, we've been saying that extraction effects are bad for 15 years, and people just keep putting them in their decks, keep bringing them in when they shouldn't bring them in, and they're not very relevant. It just keeps happening. This is never going to stop.
I can't even tell you how many times I've been hit with a surgical extraction when I'm playing like a Delver deck. And I just am baffled. Just baffled.
They just pay 2 life and discarded a card from their hand.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, sometimes they do get like my extra wooded foothills out of my hand. Tell you what, sometimes they surgical extraction on my Delver of Secrets, and I beat them to death with a Tarmogoyf.
If you bring in surgical extraction, you better have a very clear plan for what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
It is not a value card.
All right, Mr. May, what we got?
All right, from Dat Cody Guy. What do you guys think about bagels?
Wait, which Cody guy?
Dat Cody Guy.
That kind of. Oh, okay, that one. All right. What's the question?
What do you guys think about bagels?
Okay, when I say that you need to ask like the questions and then Dan picks the best one, clearly I was wrong. He's just going to ask every single random question that Twitch chat
Okay.
has.
I was panhandling for questions.
Bagels are
and I
delicious.
just came up with just like one thing.
Here's the thing, though. The difference between a mediocre bagel and a really good New York bagel is pretty high.
Yeah.
Because the really good bagels have a very nice texture contrast from the outside, like that's very nice and crisp, to the inside that's very fluffy and chewy. And that contrast is great. The best bagel is the everything bagel.
Wow, so you just don't like bread? You just would rather ruin bread with a bunch of like sesame seeds and other garbage like bird food?
Hey man, sesame seeds are great.
Sesame seeds, poppy seeds, garlic, salt.
Yeah, garlic and salt are great. Those are
Other
real
stuff.
things that you should eat.
Not a huge cream cheese
What
fan.
about just
Just
put some sunflower seeds on your bagel?
Toast it with some butter. I'm good.
There was a nice bagel place where I used to live in Vermont, where they had like a nice toasted sesame seed bagel, put some cream cheese and some bacon on it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you really like cream cheese and bacon. You don't really like bread very much.
It was a nice.
It's a
It was a
different
nice
kind
bagel.
of bread. Bagels are good, and I appreciated the question.
Of course you did. That is.
I once again have a very rampy hand, and I don't really know what to make of it.
Okay. My hand is fairly reactive, and my lands mostly enter the battlefield tapped. But if we draw a land that keeps that ramping, that'd be great.
I'm just going to keep again because it seemed like it was fine before.
Oh, yeah, you should have very easily won, and I don't know what happened that made it so that you didn't win. That's weird,
I'm at 18.
Sure.
You might never know.
Yeah, no one may never know.
Fetch for Forest and play an Expedition. I'm
Sure.
at 17. You can go.
Go.
So
Upkeep
Ross,
search.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sir Phil 22 mentions to you. Panera has apparently a Panera Bread cherry vanilla bagel. Sir Phil, I think you just threw a bunch of random words together.
Nice.
Cherry vanilla bagel?
Honestly,
Cherry vanilla bagel.
it's just like Panera Bread to just put sugar on their bread. I'm just going to say that because they have a lot of bread with sugar on it.
Yeah, why? Why?
Sugar bread,
He
baby.
just went to a random word generator, just like, okay, cherry, vanilla, perfect.
This isn't Coca-Cola. This is bagels. They're different things.
Why do you keep getting forced?
Because I want to have more mountains in my deck. By the time I resolve a threat, I'm going to have 5 mountains in play.
Okay.
At least that's my
I said okay.
my thought
That's
process.
fine.
I'm going to cast a search for tomorrow.
Sure. I don't care. Whatever.
Okay, I'm going to get a mountain, second counter, then play a stomping ground, third counter.
Yeah.
Pass the turn.
I'm playing Opt.
I need to tread lightly with these food questions. Because last thing we need is for Ross to go on another rant again.
Someone argues that that is exactly what he needs to do. I don't know what to do here. I have another Field of Ruin on top. I really want to find an island or a plains. I guess an island would be ideal. You have 2 cards in hand?
3.
3? Alright, we're just going to keep it. Alright, draw for turn.
Yep.
I will play a Field of Ruin, so you go.
Carney T. All you need is 1. You can go.
Do I have any way to kill that? Did I cut every single... I think
have
I
a
have,
verdict.
I have one Supreme Verdict?
Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
Oh, I'm gonna regret this so much. Curly had 3-2-1. Better pizza topping.
Get out.
Uh,
Can we stop with the food?
What are the choices?
Mushrooms or pineapple?
Mushrooms. Get out of here with this pineapple.
Yeah, it's
You know,
mushrooms.
if you want to put pineapple on your pizza, whatever, but it's not better than mushrooms.
No.
Mushrooms are a solid topping. I used to not like mushrooms, but I've gotten into them in the last year.
Yeah,
All right,
mushrooms
so the Karn Siren's going to kill me.
I'm aware.
If I... Well, So here's the thing. Actually, I just forgot I had Supreme Verdict in my hand. Because I didn't have untapped blue for forever. But if I cast it, there's a very good chance that I die. Or at least take so much damage that I die. So... I'll just kill it. Whatever. Go.
Well, I have Escape Shift in my hand. So I'm going to sack this Colony Heart, go up to 8 lands.
Oh, that's fine.
Why?
No, don't worry about it.
Are you about to surge?
Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it.
Well, I have to get these mountains.
See if Ross can throw away another game.
I don't...
Yes, I have another surgical. Or I have
Well,
a surgical, yeah. I'm going to take all your Cinder Glaze and hope you just don't randomly have enough mountains. I don't know. You probably do. How many basic mountains are in your deck? So you have 2 Stomping Grounds.
6.
Yeah, so you have 4 more mountains left in your deck after I surgical you. Okay, draw for turn.
And each one deals 6 damage?
Yeah.
That seems like enough.
Wait, how does each one deal 6? Oh, because you have
Yeah.
so many lands. Oh, yeah, you can just get like 2 or 3 value
Yeah,
cuts.
I have a
Okay,
9th
okay,
land
okay.
too. So I Escape Shift. So I Escape Shift here.
You don't have to sack all your lands. You go get
Yeah.
3 value cuts and 4 mountains, and that's a bajillion damage.
So you said
Actual quadrillion.
So the key here is that you sacrifice the lands upon resolution of the Escape Shift. So there's no time in between sacrificing lands and searching for more that Todd can surgical. So he has to surgical in response to the Escape Shift itself and get rid of the Cinder Glades.
Yeah.
And
so
at that point, I have 2 mountains and 2 Stomping Grounds left in my deck. So I'll just sacrifice 7 of my lands that aren't including all the forests and the foothills. So let's say these 7, and I'll just get 3 Valakutes, 2 mountains, 2 Stomping Grounds. There's only 4 mountains entering, but they each trigger 3 each Valakut, so they each essentially represent 9 damage and deal 36.
Cool.
So, on to game 3.
All right, actual Magic question. this
Thank
time.
you. Thank you, Dan.
Pass.
From Acast 1991. What are you guys' thoughts about Hardened Scales Affinity?
I thought
think-
that deck was really good, and then it just stopped being a thing.
I played it in a modern PTQ at Grand Prix Richmond a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And it felt really powerful and great.
And
I
people
went-
just stopped liking it.
Yeah, I mean, I went 4-1. My one loss was to the guy who lost in the finals. He was playing KCI. KCI seemed like a pretty bad matchup, but I don't know. That felt great.
Got a
I
bit
don't
of a
know- I don't know what
sub train
happened.
going on here now.
Subtrain.
Empath with Twitch Prime sub. Let me make sure I get this right. Mercadianer. I hope I pronounced that right.
Close
Also with a Twitch Prime sub.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys great.
All right. Are you mulliganing?
Nope.
Oh, tilt.
Just shuffling,
My hand
as
is
I am wont to do.
pretty good.
Is it?
It's not as it is already.
Right.
Thank you, Robert.
Just want to make sure we're clear. That's all.
I got some ramp spells and some
Oh,
lands.
Mercadianer, like as in Mercadian masks. Okay, got it. That makes sense now.
Cinderglade. No turn 1 search for me this game. Let's play a forest and an explorer. Sure. Play a stomping ground tapped and pass the turn.
All right. Serum Vision. Keep a good one on top. Afraid of anything next turn? I think this is. I can just like safely play another colonnade here. Go.
Come
Like
on, Tireless Tracker.
opposite bailout, Tireless Tracker. Well, never mind. I don't want to give it away. I do not have a lot of options.
Huh. Well, I could Tireless Tracker.
Do it. You just peeled it after the call shot it?
I peeled some respect.
Ooh.
I'm making my 4th land. So I'll remember to pay this time. But I won't be able to crack any clues for a little while. But I will start getting a threat down. I have a fetch land to follow it up. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. This seems sweet.
Okay.
Tireless Tracker, great.
Yeah.
This is a messed up magic card. Where are you? It was also near the top of my deck. So let's play Tracker and play this fetch land and get a clue. And then crack this fetch land and get a second clue. What land do I want?
All right. You're at 19?
Probably just this stomping ground. Yeah, pass turn.
Well, chat, let's get some PJ salts ready.
Are you crypticing me? I forgot about
And
cryptic
that
command.
is how you beat Malagut with like one control.
Yeah, that was not a good play.
Wild card. Cut the brakes.
I just really wanted to Tireless Tracker Todd. Cryptic Command is a magic card.
Ross made 2. Just
There's a reason I
rookie
don't.
mistakes. Just straight rookie mistakes. What is happening?
Blaze of glory.
What time is it? Do we have time to play
It's-
another one or 4 more or
We got like 12 minutes.
12 minutes?
We're only at, it's 3:48 already.
I guess so.
Yes,
man.
it is.
We've been chit-chatting a
Time
bunch.
flies when you're
Surprise.
having fun.
Yeah. Let's play a real game. I want a match. Just want to throw that out there. Got on the board.
I'm sitting here thinking about Field of Ruin. Just Cryptic Command.
Come on, buddy.
Not smart.
I didn't want to say anything because that was just it was just fun.
You never go for the style points, Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we at almost 350? Is that where we're at right now?
Yes.
Should have just played some Tribe Elders.
All right,
Yeah.
let's just hang out and talk about Modern and let's talk to Twitch.
I got a
stuff.
question.
Another
from,
game is gonna make us go over
I
time.
got a question from Big Head Chris 73.
What's up, Chris?
Their thoughts about Infect. Is it really good right now?
Yeah, I think Infect is very well positioned right now and just generally a good deck. One of the reasons, or the main reason, that Infect receded from the metagame after the ban of Gataxian Probe was less due to the loss of Probe and more due to the printing of Fatal Push.
Well, I on top of that, Death Shadow became like a tier 1 deck as well, and any deck that's like very hyper interactive, and is not getting their life total pressured in any meaningful way, is going to give Infect a lot of trouble. And I think that was one of the major reasons why it got pushed out. Why it stayed gone, I don't know.
Yeah, so it got pushed out in that metagame specifically. That spring, the metagame was heavily Grixis Death Shadow, Dredge, and Eldrazi-Tron.
Mm-hmm.
And Infect struggles against the Manic Chalices from Eldrazi-Tron and Walking Ballistas.
Yeah.
So they had 8 really good cards in the matchup, and Thought Not Seer, and not to mention whatever else in the sideboard. And then Grixis Shadow was this incredibly lean deck that has a lot of really cheap interaction and a good clock. And Infect wasn't able to punish Death Shadow for dealing itself a ton of damage. So those 2 matchups it struggled with. It was good against Dredge, but that was it. And that wasn't enough to keep it around. As the metagame has evolved since then, we've seen a recession of Fatal Push and a reintegration of Lightning Bolt, and now a push more towards Path to Exile. I think those decks Infect a little bit better against, because Fatal Push often comes next to Thoughtseize and Inquisition, and the combination of discard and removal is difficult. One of the things that Infect prides itself on or gets a lot of edge on is the fact that it's difficult to play against. You're not exactly sure what they have or when you need to time your removal spells, so the information from discard spells is really valuable in the matchup. So right now we have a metagame where the discard spells aren't as popular. There's a little bit of Jund around, not really a lot of Death Shadow, and then there are these control decks that are going to just sort of struggle to beat your fast draws because they don't have enough early interaction.
Right.
They have good game, but I don't think that's a matchup that is, if it's unfavorable for you, it's not by much. And
I mean, I want to reiterate. I think the Jeskai versions that had a bunch of Electrolyze,
yes,
they were just super hard on removal because they had Bolt, Path, Helix, Electrolyze. Like
those are rough.
Those are tough to beat all together. But the Azorius control decks basically just have Path to Exile, maybe 1 Oust, and then a bunch of like 2, 3, 4 mana cards that don't really do what they need to do in the matchup.
Yeah. They need to sort of anti your creatures on the first 2 turns of the game, then probably Field of Ruin and Inkmoth Nexus to try to set up a sweeper on turn 4 or 5 that you can't just immediately kill them from, and that's tough to do.
Yep.
Sometimes you just spell pierce their Terminus and things like that. And then Infect is excellent against these spell-based combo decks or the big mana decks, anything like Tron, TitanShift or Amulet Titan. Infect is going to be very good against all of those.
I will say the mono green Tron decks going super hard on Walking Ballista has changed the matchup quite a bit. Instead of being just like a one-sided slaughter from the Infect decks, I think it's way closer now.
Yeah.
Like we saw Tana Grace beat Aaron Barrich playing for top 8 in was it Baltimore recently? Or not Baltimore?
It was
Dallas. Was it Dallas? Okay. But Tana mulliganed to 4. But just had, a really interactive draw with, I think he had 2 spatial contortions, and he just beat the, really combo-heavy, even Spellskite draw from Aaron on a mold of 4, and that's pretty crazy.
The Tron matchup is definitely not as good as it used to be. Ballista is a big deal, but you're still ahead.
Yeah, I agree.
So I do think Infect is quite good right now. It is on my short list to play this weekend at the Grand Prix, and probably at the top of that list right now. So, if you see me this weekend casting some Blighted Agents, don't be surprised.
All right. A lot of people are asking about the Arclight Phoenix Runaway Steamkin deck.
I mean, if you got any particularly strong thoughts on the deck, feel free. For me, it just seems like a meme.
I don't think the deck is great. I think that there's a nucleus that's very powerful there. Faithless Looting, Arclight Phoenix, Manamorphose, Swift Spear, Lightning Bolt, those 20 cards. The rest of it just sort of being an okay burn deck that needs to use the graveyard, so you're a little bit vulnerable to hate there, and you have a little bit less consistency in your draws. If you draw a bunch of Arclight Phoenixes and no Faithless Looting, the deck looks kind of weak. But sometimes the deck just looks great, so it's a more polarized burn deck. I have seen lists now without Runaway Steamkin. Andrew Schneider, who I think was the best performing version of the deck last weekend, was 8-1 after day 1, started 0-3 as I did on day 2, but then recovered for a cash finish. Was not playing any Runaway Steamkin. He just had Bedlam Reveler, Phoenix, and Swift Spear. Maybe that's the way to go. So, and we saw the blue-red Is It version the week before make the top 16. Mm-hmm. So there's something powerful going on there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually find a good deck but as they are built right now, they're not there.
So I like to equate the Arclight Phoenixes to a version of Hollow One that we had last year, which is the Dredgevine deck. We had Vengevine with Faithless Looting and Hollow One and Insolent Neonate, and the deck didn't really explode until I believe it was Ken Yukihiro made the top 8 of the Modern Pro Tour with a version that was just black-red, didn't play Vengevine, and instead was just playing a 2-color, more consistent version of the deck that relied on Burning Inquiry, Goblin Lore, things we hadn't really seen a whole lot in the deck until that point.
Yeah.
And it's possible that Arclight is actually just a regression of that strategy where we're going from this is a consistent like Hollow One type deck, that or we have the like Young Pyromancer Bedlam Reveler deck, and these are just the better version of this deck. Like it's trying to hybridize these two different strategies into a shell that can't really break either side, but it's still very powerful because all the cards that are surrounding Faithless Looting, Bedlam Reveler, even Monastery Swift Spear, Lightning Bolt, Manamorphose, these are all cards that are just generically good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that it's no one's found it yet. I'll say that. Like,
Yeah.
when people find it, it'll top 4. It'll win the tournament. And until that point, I'm just going to say, try something else. Play the deck that's already established.
At least for tournaments, if you want to work on the deck outside of that.
Oh, yeah,
it's,
sure.
It's a good avenue to work. And sometimes it takes a while to find the right builds of these decks. As Todd noted, it took a while to find the right way to build around Hollow One, even though we knew that card was really powerful in conjunction with the red looting effects.
Mm-hmm.
It took a long time to actually find the other deck you mentioned, Mardu Pyromancer, to find the right build of that. That deck was floating around on Magic Online for a year or two before it got really big. It used to be more white heavy, have like more burn spells, lightning helixes, Monastery Swift Spear, and be more aggressive. Eventually, it worked its way into
a bunch of Planeswalkers too, like Nahiri Harbinger versions. There were,
Eventually, it worked its way into a more Blood Moon focused deck that was just black-red with just touching white for Lingering Souls and maybe sideboard cards, and that's where it's had the most success. So, it's going to take some time to find the right builds, but Faithless Looting, Arclight Phoenix, Bedlam Reveler, Swift Spear, Bolt, Manamorphose is a good start to a deck.
Yeah, I agree with
we just need to figure out the other half of it.
All right, one more.
From Na1338, is a Delver deck of any kind viable in Modern right now?
I mean, I'll take that. I will play Delver of Secrets until the day that they put me in the ground. And I will try to make it good in Modern at every point imaginable. But consistently for the last 4 or 5 years, Delver of Secrets has always been the worst card in my deck when I play those decks. Yeah. And that sucks. And sometimes it's still good enough, but it's still always consistently the worst card in my deck. When you flip it on 2, it's insane. It's amazing. You play it on 1, flip it on 2, your remands get turned on, your opponent's removal gets overloaded because you have this 1-mana threat that's super hard to kill. The problem is always going to be flipping it. And the fact that we don't have a Ponder or even a Preordain to help consistently flip it, it just means that it's never going to be as good as it can possibly be. The reason, Delver of Secrets was in Standard for 2 years. People only really remember it being in Standard for 1 year when it was in Standard with Ponder. When you had Delver of Secrets with Ponder, the deck was just functionally busted. And then once Ponder rotated, Delver was still a card in the format. They just saw 0 play. People just instead got a little bit bigger with their curve. Personally, I went more 2-mana counter spells into Geist Saint Traft, into Resto, into Thundermaw Hellkite. Like, that was my progression. But Delver of Secrets is still in the format. Just like it's still in Modern. It's just not playable.
Yeah, Delver of Secrets it's a powerful card in a very narrow context. It requires a few things. One is a high density of cheap spells so that you can consistently transform it and not lose a lot of power when you're building around that strategy. We happened to have that high density of spells for that first year. It was in Standard. You had Taxian Probe, Ponder, Thought Scour, Gut Shot, Dismember, Vapor Snag, and they were all excellent. And you could get up into that 25 plus good spells in your main deck to consistently transform it. And then Mana Leak. How could I forget? And so
I don't know.
And that density exists in Legacy as well because of Brainstorm Ponder, A Force of Will Days, and the like. Now, to build a Delver deck, the other issue it runs into in Modern, in addition to not having that same density of really cheap spells, is Modern is a format where other decks are playing a higher density of efficient removal. So even when you do transform it, it often just dies.
Yep.
and not at much of a tempo gain for you. When you look at Delver and Legacy, most decks have their 4 bolts or their couple fatal pushes and their 2 dismembers out of the Death Shadow decks. But they need to play a lot of Force of Wills and Dazes and counterspells and other forms of disruption to answer the decks that exist in Legacy, like Storm, Sneak and Show, lands, things like that. There's less reliance on creatures, so there's consequently less reliance on creature removal as a main form of your disruption.
Mhm.
Delver of Secrets thrives in formats where the removal is also going to be weak. And that happened to be the case in that standard format as well. Like that, we had a Delver deck whose removal was just Vapor Snag, and that's all it really needed.
Yep.
Like there was some okay 1-mana removal like Tragic Slip, but that sometimes missed when it transformed.
Right.
If you couldn't turn on the other part of it. I can't remember the name of the ability, but so that Delver,
Morbid.
yeah, Morbid.
Yeah.
So your Delvers and your Insectile Aberrations lived more frequently in the formats where it's good as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a reason why the Delver deck started playing like a bunch of gut shots, because they were pretty good at killing Delver in the mirror. Alongside Snapcaster Mage, sometimes you could go like gut shot your Bird of Paradise against the Birthing Pod decks, and then on turn 2 you could Snapcaster gut shot and kill like their next creature.
And those Birthing Pod decks didn't really have a lot of removal either.
Right.
They were mainly on the ground outside of Restoration Angel, so your Delvers lived a lot. Delver is a card that doesn't provide any value outside of attacking and blocking, so it's a card that needs to actually live. So if it exists in a format where the removal lines up effectively against it, and there's a lot of that removal around, it's going to suffer. And that's always been the case in Modern, because Modern is still a creature-centric format, unlike Legacy, that's less creature-centric. But unlike Standard, Modern does have all the time this high density of good removal that always have Path to Exile, Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, Kolaghan's Command, Collective Brutality, all these different things. So the Delver of Secrets has suffered for multiple reasons in Modern, and usually the decks that it's in, it's the worst card in, as Todd has mentioned, and it's a fine card in those decks because it's a good tempo card, but those tempo decks are doing most of their damage based on other cards in them. The Blue-Red Wizards deck does most of its damage because it gets to play Snapcaster and 8 Lightning Bolts. Other decks get to play Tarmogoyf and good removal, and Delver is just another link in the chain as opposed to a central piece like it has been in Legacy or like it was in Standard.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, the answer was in the person's name the whole time. Nah.
No, Delver bad. All right.
That's a no from me, dog.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Versus Live today. We got a lot of work done just testing out various decks that cropped up last weekend. I will say that I was very impressed in how consistent and fast the Amulet Titan deck is. I mean, it's been around in Modern for quite some time, with cards like Summer Bloom making it super explosive, eventually getting the axe. It's kind of great to see the deck still functioning without its card that got banned. You know, we see that happen time and time again with decks just like losing some piece of functionality, like a Guard Grave Troll. Dredge is still around.
Tax and Probe Infect is still around.
Right. So it's pretty sweet to see that back. We had results from last weekend's Modern Open that were frankly baffling compared to what they've looked like in the past few months. So it's interesting to see. I think Grand Prix Atlanta is going to be an awesome event, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how many Primeval Titans we see. The turn you kept talking about Escape Shift being the super consistent turn 4 Titan deck, but in reality, so is Amulet. The deck is very good at turn 4 Titan. I mean, it plays 10 or so ramp spells. The list I had 4 Azusa, 4 Tribe Scout, and 2 Explorers. Yeah. And then Amulet.
You have to count Amulet as a ramp spell, too.
So you have your fair number of ramp spells. You get to your turn 4 Titans, and if the format is allowing you to get to those turn 4 Titans, if you untap with it, the game is basically over. You just have so much versatility with it. You're either going to dead them with a bunch of lightning bolts, or you're going to find whatever lanes you need to figure out. I don't know. It's a hard puzzle, but I promise you the solution is almost always there. You get a Walking Ballista, you get Engineered Explosives. Sometimes you just gain a little bit of life with Radiant Fountain, make an 0-1 to block for a turn off Colony Garden. There's always something there to stall for the turn, and then they can't really fully attack because then you kill them on the swing back for 16, so they have to leave back a thing. So that gives you the time to Engineered Explosives their board away or Ballista it away, and it just good things happen. So the deck is very, very good and very rewarding if you learn to play it. And I think it's going to be one of those decks that people have to learn to play against. Because in order to be effective against the deck, you need to be effective at playing that deck. You need to know what they're capable of in order to guard yourself against it. So I think that's going to be the next step. People are going to have to really learn how to play against Amulet Titan and learn the lines themselves.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, that's going to do it for Versus Live Day. I want to say a big shout out to Dan May. Thanks for being
Yeah.
in the booth.
Before we go,
Yeah.
Desert Bus.
Oh, Desert Bus.
Next Friday, November 9th
Yep.
at 10 a.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/Desert
Bus.
This is the Desert Bus for Hope promotion. It's brought up to us by Loading Ready Run. If you're not familiar with the game Desert Bus, it just simulates a drive through the desert
From
between
Tucson to Vegas.
Tucson to Vegas.
45
and back.
miles per hour in real time.
Yes. So on the surface, it sounds really boring, but what actually happens is the people on stream, which is going to be the Loading Ready Run people and a bunch of others, just sort of do fun stuff. They interact with the chat. They take dares. They do human pyramids. I don't know. They'll do whatever they need to do to keep viewers in the room and keep people donating. The money they raise is going to go to children for
Child's Play.
Child's Play. There we go. A charity that helps children in pediatric hospitals and other child welfare facilities through the magic of gaming. So they bring them things to do and introduce them to gaming or get them deeper into it if it's something they're interested in.
Yeah.
Last year, they raised over $650,000. They went on for like a week straight.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah, completely ridiculous. I can't, like, it just boggles my mind
The
thinking
more
about that.
money,
Honestly, the
we
Desert
donate.
Bus part, not really important.
Yeah, it's just
all
sort of
the
a
other
pretext.
Yeah, it's just a reason for them to all show up and have fun and hang out and do something great for charity.
So it's going to be a super fun time. If you're around starting at November 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you can tune in from the beginning. They'll go on for about a week, so you got plenty of time to tune in when you're available over that time. But please do, if you have the opportunity, and please donate because Child's Play is a wonderful cause.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for everybody here at Versus Live. Ross Merriam, Dan May, Robert in the booth. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Twitch chat, for being here. And thanks for all your questions. We really like interacting with the chat. And it's what makes Versus Live so much better and so much more fun for us than the old way we used to do it. So big shout out to everyone in Twitch chat. Also, big shout out to the subs. I think we had like 5 or 6 today.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
5 subs today. Thanks. I know Star City Games, the SCG Tour, is a pretty big Twitch channel. It's not, you don't have to sub. We do okay. You know, where that's not really what we're here for, but we do appreciate any of the interaction here. And I'm going to say a big shout out to Summoner's Pact.
Yeah, big slop to Summoner's Pact. Screw this card.
What? We just threw $10 on the ground.
Is that how much it is? I don't care.
I don't know.
Man.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, where we will be playing probably Standard again because people seem to like Standard a lot.
Yeah, we've been doing this nice split right now between Standard and Modern. It just sort of depends what we want to do, what's interesting, and what's coming up. So please let us know on social media, on Twitter, what you want to see, because we'll take that into account.
Tiny leaders. We're doing it. No,
Bye,
we're not.
y'all.
Bye.